What's up, it's Cinema Shogun here, and I'm sure by now all of you have seen the body cam footage of Britney Spears getting pulled over, right? Well, if you haven't already, go ahead and go check it out. I would play it here, but I'm sure they would copyright strike my channel or something stupid like that. But anyways, in this body cam footage, you can tell how out of touch with reality Britney is. You can tell how out of touch with just day-to-day normal things Britney is. I mean, when they ask her for her driver's license, she acts as if this is a foreign concept. She never has her driver's license on her. Now, everyday average Americans know that you basically have your driver's license on you at all times, especially when you're out driving around. You get in a car accident, you get pulled over, or even if you just drive to the store and back. Usually, you have your driver's license on you. From this body cam footage, we can see that Britney's not used to having her driver's license anywhere she goes. And when the cop asked her about insurance and registration, she acts like she didn't even know what that was. What? Huh? And the cop even said that, oh, this is the second time I pulled you over for speeding. And the last time I pulled you over, you didn't have any of your information then either. So it's not like, oh, Britney Spears gets pulled over. She accidentally doesn't have, proof of insurance or registration. She accidentally doesn't have a license. No, this cop has pulled her over multiple times and she never has this information on her. Now, the most concerning or the weirdest part for me is that he tries to get her address, and Britney does not know her own home address. Britney's been living in that home for going on 10 years. If my memory serves me correctly, she moved into that home, I think, in 2015. So she's been living there for about 9 years, and she does not know her own address. She literally has to call an assistant. She has to call her assistant to provide her home address to the cop. Her home address that she's been living at for 9 years. Now, I know some people will spin some wild conspiracy theories about this one. Why doesn't Britney know where she lives? But this is a perfect example of what I've been trying to explain to people for a very long time now. Britney is not capable of doing the things that normal humans do. She has not lived a normal life. Going out and doing normal everyday things, Britney isn't capable of doing it. I don't think Britney's even capable of wiping her own ass, probably. But all jokes aside, everyone looks at this conservatorship that Britney was in, and they look at the things that Britney was supposedly not allowed to do. And what they don't realize is that some of these guidelines from the conservatorship, some of these rules, if you will, they were never there to control Britney. They were there to help Britney. Because when Britney goes out into the world, she's like a fish out of water. Someone like Britney Spears shouldn't be popping up at random gas stations, going to use gas station bathrooms barefoot and things like that, right? Someone like Britney, you gotta have bodyguards, you gotta have protection. You can't just be out here moving like a regular person. That's just reality. So a lot of these restrictions and rules that Britney had during the conservatorship, they were not placed there to enslave Britney. They were placed there to help Britney. Because every time Britney goes and ventures out on her own, she gets a speeding ticket. And she gets caught driving without a license. She doesn't have the proper registration. Because Britney is not prepared to be an adult and do adult-like things like a normal human being. So everyone picks apart this conservatorship, and they're not realizing that we're dealing with an entirely different animal here in Britney Spears. We're not dealing with your average human. Some of these guidelines were there to protect Britney because Britney does not know how to operate like a regular adult. Okay? So when they say, hey, Britney, we don't want you going here, we don't want you doing that, a lot of that was to protect Britney because she knows no better. In my honest opinion, this is a huge missing piece to this Britney Spears puzzle. This is a concept that either people don't understand or people choose not to understand, or maybe a concept that some people have not even explored yet. But when you see these complaints, oh, Britney wasn't allowed to drive here and do this. Yeah, true. But Britney doesn't understand what a driver's license is. Britney does not understand what a speed limit is. Britney feels that she can drive at whatever speed she wants because she's Britney Spears. So maybe that's why some of these rules were put into place. And you know, Britney, she would have a habit of pulling up places as if she was not a celebrity. Like, sure, you and me, we could drive to the local McDonald's and walk in and buy a hamburger, no problem. But Britney would go do things like this, and mobs would form. Mobs of people who want to see Britney, and chaos would break loose. You know, you don't see many of these big celebs out here living their everyday life like a normal person for a reason. Britney would often try to do those things, and I'm not saying that's wrong, because if the world was perfect, yeah, Britney could walk into McDonald's and no one would bat an eye, right? But that's not life. And the reality is, Britney loves and craves the attention. She always has. She even talks about it in her book. So Britney would pull up places, mobs would form, straight chaos, and it would put her in danger. And then she would speed off from these locations without her driver's license, getting followed by paparazzi and fans, and it was a recipe for disaster. So a lot of these rules, a lot of these regulations, a lot of these recommendations during her conservatorship, they weren't there to be, oh, big, bad, evil rules and recommendations. No, they were placed there to help Britney and to prevent Britney from getting in trouble or getting hurt. Because Britney, and we saw it in the Bodycam footage, she's not capable of functioning like a normal person. She's had assistants and, assistants and maids and butlers and handlers, you name it, handling all of this stuff for her whole entire life. So now at the age of 40, we have this possibly mentally ill woman out here driving around getting speeding tickets every day. But let's talk about this book for a second. I'm now on chapter 8. Still no mention of the conservatorship. Now I get it. It's a memoir, right? It's a memoir. It's going to go through Britney's life. But this is not what we were promised. We were promised a book of deep, dark secrets about her conservatorship. And so far, I have read a whole bunch of nothing. Sure, I could have sat down and read this book in one sitting. It's an easy, quick read. But it's so eye-rolling and so pointless that I only devote a little portion of time every day. I mean, especially considering the fact that I'm literally covering what can possibly be World War III. You know, it's kind of weird covering the war over in Israel and then sitting down and reading Britney complain about nonsense. But so far in these chapters, she's just been talking about her childhood, talking about going to gymnastics class. She's complaining that she didn't have control in her family. She's complaining that she didn't have control in her family, and that's one of the reasons why she wanted to get into show business, because she felt like she would have more control there. Mind you, she was 9 years old. So Britney Spears is complaining about not having more control in her family when she was 9. Did you have control in your family when you were 9 years old? I surely didn't. So Britney kind of playing the victim because she didn't have control in her family at the age of 9 is completely idiotic to me. But I learned a few new things. But I can tell you right now, this book is not having the desired effect. I don't know what she was planning on doing with this book. I don't know what effect she thought this book would have on people. And I know it has a different effect on different people. But as someone with common sense that's not head over heels in love with Britney Spears, a crazy Britney Spears fan, this book is having the opposite effect on me. This book is not making me feel bad for Britney. In fact, this book is making me feel less bad for Britney. This book is not painting Britney out in this wonderful light, if you ask me. It's like the book continues to try to paint Britney out to be a victim. But in my eyes, it's just painting Britney out to be maybe not, this nice, super sweet person that we thought she was. She talks about how at the age of 9, she got her first job as a waitress. And I'm sitting here like, yeah, I don't believe that's true, Britney. You were working as a waitress at 9 to help, your family with the bills. That didn't happen. Let's just be honest. There are certain details in this book that I read and I'm like, yeah, I don't think that happened at all. So I'm not even going to go into detail about her job at the age of 9 because I think that's nonsense. But what was really interesting is that by the age of 12, Britney was out here drinking up a storm. Now, I was not the perfect kid, but I can tell you right now, I wasn't drinking or doing drugs at the age of 12. Britney, at the age of 12, was going out, hanging out, drinking with her mom. And she's telling the stories about the alcohol that she liked and how they would go to the beach and drink and Jamie Lynn would be there in the car seat. And I'm like, wait, aren't you 12? She talks about how she likes White Russians and they would make her relax. And I'm like, dude, you're 12 years old. So at the age of 12, Britney was already drinking for fun with her mom, all of that good stuff. Like it was nothing. And then by the age of 13, Britney was already out here blowing straight up 19-year-old dudes and stuff. So I don't know what effect she thought this book was supposed to have. But I'm just sitting here like, okay, at the age of 9, Britney wanted to control her family and she couldn't. Flip the page. Oh, at the age of 12, Britney was getting drunk. Okay, cool. Oh, at the age of 13, Britney was doing strange things with 19-year-olds who she knew had girlfriends. So Britney's been a homewrecker ever since the age of 12, apparently. But there's this 19-year-old dude that she liked and had a crush on, even though she was 13. And she was just dating these older dudes. And it's just like a bunch of Louisiana trailer trash type stuff going on. And I'm just sitting here like, what am I supposed to gain from this? What am I supposed to gain from this? I don't know. I don't get it. I don't see... I'm looking on the internet and other people are fake crying crocodile tears. Oh my God, it's Britney's book. Oh God. And I'm reading it like, damn, okay, Britney, you were out here banking 19-year-olds at the age of 13. That's kind of gross. Oh, and you were getting drunk at 12. Okay. And you lied about having a job at 9. Great. I don't know what the fuck am I supposed to gain from this. And that's why I've had this hesitation in making these videos because there's not much to talk about, folks. One thing that I did take away from this, everyone for years and years and years, they blame Britney's parents for everything. And they claim that Britney's parents forced her into the spotlight. Britney's parents took advantage of her and they forced her into stardom. And it's their fault, blah, 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 blah. Now, I'll be the main one to tell you that there are a lot of parents like that push their kids into Hollywood. They push them into these TV shows and these music videos. I get it. That is definitely a real problem. These parents are basically sacrificing their kid at the altar for fortune and fame. And a lot of weird and messed up things happen to these kids, right? But when it comes to Britney Spears, her situation was kind of unique. Don't get me wrong. At an early age, she was out auditioning for the Mickey Mouse Club. She was out doing shows in New York. She was doing performances. She was on various TV shows, talent shows, you name it, right? At a very early age. But the interesting part about Britney is that multiple times they reeled Britney back in and they brought her back to reality. Like they'll go to New York, Britney will audition, she'll be part of a play, and she'll do this for a couple of months, and then they would go back to Louisiana, and they would allow Britney to go back to her normal life. Go back to school, go back to hanging out with your friends in the neighborhood. So unlike a lot of these child stars that are kind of thrust into stardom and they never get a chance to go back to a normal life, Britney went back to a normal life a few times. The problem is things weren't really working out. I mean, hey, can we have you in New York doing Broadway shows? Or do we want you here in Louisiana getting drunk, smoking Virginia Slims, and blowing dudes who are like 10 years older than you? That's what it came down to. Britney's family, there was an attempt at least 3 times from what I read in this book. This is Britney's own words, supposedly. So there was multiple attempts to, okay, Britney, we're going to allow you to come back and live a normal life. It just so happens that her normal life was Britney smoking cigarettes, drinking, and, messing around with older dudes who already had girlfriends. And they decided, hey, this ain't really working out, so let's go back to the showbiz aspect of things. So, in this book, it paints a different picture than the picture that a lot of Britney's fans try to paint. Like, Britney talked about craving attention. Britney talked about wanting to pursue stardom, wanting to be in these shows. This was Britney's thing. It wasn't necessarily her family's thing. Everyone wants you to think that Britney's family forced her to do these things, when in reality, from what the book says, Britney wanted to do these things. And there were multiple times where Britney was brought back. And then Britney decided she wanted to go out again. So this was not Britney's dad and Britney's mom enslaving their child and forcing her to do the Mickey Mouse show. This was something that Britney wanted to do. Because if she wasn't doing this, she was at home, admittedly, dancing on top of tables trying to get the attention of older dudes. This is something that she did since the age of 6. She would get on top of tables and try to impress the older kids in the neighborhood. By the age of 13, she was sleeping with 19-year-olds, getting drunk, smoking cigarettes, and, the rest is history. So, I don't know, like I keep saying, I don't know what they intended on getting across in this book. I don't know what the desired effect of this book was supposed to be, but I'm pretty sure it's having the opposite effect on me. And I'm pretty sure that any normal person reading this book would be like, what in the hell am I reading? Like, what's going on? And I've had people say, oh, everyone else I saw reviewed the book loved it. All the other reviews say this book is so good. Do I have to spell things out for you folks? The people who you're watching review this book are the same people who say that Britney's dance moves are great. The same people that say this book is so interesting are the same people who love Britney's Instagram post. Is that hard for you to understand? You're not getting accurate, real reviews of this book from any of these people. These are the same people that, oh my God, yes, Queen, we love it when you dance around dried dog poop in your soggy brown heels. The same people who cheer on her Instagram post are the same people cheering on this book. If you hear from a person who's not afraid to give you the truth, if you hear from someone who is either, not an overly emotional person, then you're going to get the truth. And the truth is, this book is a whole bunch of nothing so far. And I don't think we're going to get anywhere with this book. I mean, there's been a mention of Justin Timberlake. I'm sure we're going to hear about him a whole lot more. But as far as anything else, you're not getting it from this book. But I'm going to continue reading it. And every couple of days, we'll do a little review of a few chapters as we watch Britney, go crazy on Instagram and whatever else happens. Who knows? I do find it odd that all of this stuff is coming out around the same time as her book. Oh, the body cam footage, you released it a week after her book. Oh, and then Britney gets back to doing weird things on Instagram right after the book releases. But whatever. Let me know your thoughts about all of this down in the comments below. If you're feeling generous, drop a super thanks. But you can support this channel for free by hitting that like button, sharing the video, hitting subscribe, ringing that notification bell. And as always, I'll talk to you all soon in the next video.